For several years, I worked as a consultant in the field of communications training, focusing on the structure of verbal communications to maximize audience impact. Given my background in this field, I'm constantly amazed by how few broadcasters have any idea about how an on-air break should be structured to achieve maximum impact with the listener. This is a very complicated discussion. I compare it to football great coach Vince Lombardi, who actually ran 3-day seminars on a single play, how to execute an end run. So for brevity in this video, we'll consider only 3 different on-air break styles, and then look at why you would use them, when you would use them, and their impact on the audience. Firstly, let's identify the breaks themselves. The first would be up to 4 seconds, the second would be breaks between 4 and 7 seconds, and finally, breaks longer than 7 seconds. Let's start with the easy one, breaks of less than 4 seconds. It's an established fact that it takes about 4 seconds for an individual to actually hear that an air personality is doing a break and process the content. So breaks that are less than 4 seconds are simply too short to have an impact to be considered a factor in listener retention. They would fall into the subliminal category because it's highly unlikely that the listener will have any conscious awareness as to what the content of the break was. Now, this has several advantages in the world of broadcasting because you can use it to deliver your message without interfering with the station flow. When I was running CGRP, we used this technique to brand the station. Most of the time it was delivered over the fade-out from one song, tight to the intro of a second tune, so that from the listener perspective, there was no break in the musical flow, yet we were able to deliver powerful branding messages. The second length of break, between 4 and 7 seconds, is the tool that should be the mainstay for any on-air personality working in a music format. Regrettably, most stations today have chosen to defer this critical task to package jingles, removing the personal contact that a host brings and losing potential current information which listeners are looking for. The advantage of the break running longer than 4 seconds is that the listener becomes consciously aware of the content and can react to what's being said, offering the broadcaster the opportunity to pass on information that you'll want the listener to respond to. Maybe something like, Fred's going to be here at 4 this afternoon with more great music. This style of break has a very specific and important role in today's media. The critical component here is to keep the break to less than 7 seconds, because at the 7-second mark, the listeners had enough time to determine whether they want to continue to listen to the break or to dial out to another radio station or audio source. The longer the announcer goes, the more likely it is to erode listener retention. This 4 to 7 second break is ideal when you're looking for longer information pieces, which are still fairly short, like a brief weather forecast, a short promotion for something upcoming, or any number of other topics that the station needs in its overall branding package. The third length of break that stations use are breaks that are longer than 7 seconds. Now, I know in some stations it's routine for some air staff to talk on and on and on for lengthy periods of time, and certainly the style of break has a place in personality radio, but not in a time slot that's striving to brand itself as a music platform. The key component of running a break longer than 7 seconds is that the listener will hear the content, determine whether they're interested in that content, and possibly make a choice to move to an alternate audio source because they either weren't interested in the topic, or even worse, it's too complicated to remain meaningful for humans who have an incredibly short attention span. That means that if you're going to use longer breaks, you have to be very careful about your choice of topics and phraseology. Now, for us to stay on topic in this video, we're going to look at the talk radio environment, where it's standard formatting for stations to deliver 6 detailed weather forecasts in a single hour. Compare that to music formats, where the number drops to 2 or 3 and in some time slots vanishes entirely. It would seem to me that if a music-based station wanted to pull a larger audience share, it would make a lot of sense to attack the talk radio format by introducing more frequent, occasionally longer weather forecasts. I'm not suggesting there be 30 or 40-second weather forecasts all the time, but in a rotation, 15 seconds every once in a while, with a summation possibly of what the weather of the day is going to be, would be a huge asset to the surveillance information the station is offering. One of the concepts that we introduced at CGRP about 5 years ago was the concept of using the intro time on the music to deliver this sort of information. The good news here is that your break can be a little bit longer because it's over top of the music. the listener absolutely knows that your host will have to finish the break, well, at least hopefully finish the break, before the vocals hit on the song. Again, when structuring a balanced clock for music-based radio stations, this technique offers the opportunity for increased surveillance information while maintaining a high music count throughout the hour. Now be warned, it takes a little bit of time to get announcers to develop a feel for this sort of style of delivery, as most have been trained on much more relaxed formats. Overall, keep in mind that time spent with your on-air staff, either as a group or individually, is well spent when you focus on the breaks, their position, and content. I remember way back when I was first in radio and we were junior announcers trying to figure out what the optimum way to deliver information was. We were told by our station manager then that the best approach was to do the expected thing in the unexpected way. Words that appear to have vanished for many broadcasters today. Don't forget, if you would like to pass on any comments about this video or about our fourth wave in radio, you can drop me a note to bob@radioinsider.net. Thank you very much for joining us.